All right, and welcome back to the RetroCult Podcast. I am Chuck, one of the hosts, Mac, the other host. What's going on, man?
Not much, Chuck. Not much. It's been quite a week, and then just trying to get back to normal.
Yeah, I think that's probably first and foremost on the agenda is we've been gone for a week. We missed an
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. I want to apologize that I had some family emergency that came up, and I kind of lost a week there. Uh, my mom, who's 86 years old, had to go into the hospital unexpectedly, and she was there for the better part of a week. So we, I just wasn't available for recording.
Yeah, I mean it's life is one of those things that doesn't wait for you. It doesn't,
Yeah, no,
attend to
no,
your schedule or anything. So it is
no.
but I know on the first few messages, I was really worried. That pneumonia is a pretty serious thing, man, and so I'm
Yeah, yeah.
happy to hear that, you were able to get there in a pretty quick amount of time and get get things healed up and get the treatments and, get her back home where she belongs, man.
Yeah, yeah, she's doing actually much better. She's still, she's still dealing with it and kind of getting her strength back, but all in all, doing well.
Yeah, and then you add on top of that, I mean, this podcast is just a hobby. I mean, it's not a job or anything, so you've missed I know you work from home some, but you've missed a week of sleep, a week of work,
Yeah.
so you've been put, pretty behind, so I know this upcoming weeks will be pretty tough on you.
Yeah, I'm going back into the office tomorrow. I did try to do a little work from home um, one day this week. I was actually planning on working from home on Friday, but then some other things came up that are all related to that. There's going to be home health care, physical therapy, that kind of stuff that my mom has to deal with. So, um, we had just had a lot of things going on. So I ended up actually only working one day last week. And even then I didn't get I wouldn't say I got a whole lot accomplished. So tomorrow will be my first day back. Hopefully, it'll get back into a normal routine again, and actually looking forward to getting back to it.
Yeah, there is something about, getting back into your normal routine, even with it, being back at work. I mean, I know not everybody jumps up excited in the morning, but and I think that puts something into perspective though, because it was something that some people had talked about at my school. It's like how I guess decorated I have my room, and it's not all education stuff. It's like things that I enjoy.
Oh yeah.
And I know you've done the same thing to your office, and I think that that really does have like a small little place of solace at times,
Oh
just to
no.
be around familiar things.
I agree. I think I think having things that you enjoy, personal items, mementos, everything. I think that's important to building a comfortable work environment. And I never really understood companies. I do know that there are companies that do this. I've actually never worked for one, thankfully, but I have heard of companies that are like they limit the number of personal items you can have, like in your workspace, or then maybe not any personal items in your workspace. And I, I believe that to be counterproductive.
I agree with you
Yeah,
on that.
I understand, depending on the job, I must say that, I understand if you're a cashier that you can't just decorate your workstation and you're going to be um, at multiple different work,
Yeah.
registers, maybe during a shift or on different days. So I understand it's not always feasible, but for people that work in a cubicle or an office or something like that, if I were an employer, I would encourage them to make it as comfortable and personable as they could, because I just know it's going to make them more comfortable and a better, and I think a better worker. I'm sure that there are people who can take anything too far. I always had to, I guess, qualify that with within reason.
Oh yeah, I think yeah.
I'm not gonna show up there with a full arcade machine, but maybe.
If they allow it,
If they
sure, why
allowed
not?
it, maybe,
Yeah.
but, within limit, within reason. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's a good thing though, because I know, I mean, it's silly, but like, this past week as we were reviewing for an upcoming, state check-in, uh, we had 2 different themes, and one of them was ducks, and, like, these kids love to put these rubber ducks all over my room. So the ducks were a huge part of the lesson, and then I pulled in the Noid from Domino's,
Mm,
and he was, we watched the old commercials, we watched some video from the Nintendo game, and we talked about who the Noid was, and then I had a slideshow set up where the Noid was trying to trick them, and he was just basically using the misconceptions that I had to teach in science. But they ate that up. They thought it was the coolest thing ever, because they had never heard of the Noid, and they thought it was hilarious looking and claymation and was funny to them. And "You're so old." The commercials are old. I know they're old. I'm old. But, I mean, it stuck, and I saw a lot of people writing down notes, in the middle of the test that, like, the Noid wants you to think this, but the answer is this, and this is like, "Okay, this is work," and it's just something silly that was sitting in my room, so it's just fun, man.
oh no, I love that kind of stuff.
So, I mean, I know for about a week there, I know you didn't get out and get to do anything at all, but
Yeah.
seeing some of the pictures from this past weekend, it looks like you were able to get back out. What
Well,
all did you get into?
Logan came to see, see his grandmother. He wasn't able to make it um while she was in the hospital because the visiting hours at the aging center are shorter than the normal visiting hours for the rest of the hospital. And with work and everything, he couldn't make it. So he and Julia came up yesterday and spent some time with her, and we had lunch, and we ended up over at McKay's. I did end up buying the 1602 Doctor Strange statue.
Oh, man, those
I
are
couldn't really leave that there, especially I looked it up on eBay, and even unboxed ones generally sell around 80 bucks. In the box, they're about 150,
okay.
and it was missing. It looks like they've only done 2 of those, Thor and Doctor Strange.
I've only seen those 2 there, so that's kinda
Yeah,
they look amazing, though.
and they have a backdrop that Uh, it makes it look like the statue is on the cover of a comic book,
Oh, wow.
which would have been neat. It was missing that, but they were asking $32 for it, and I thought that
Yeah.
was a reasonable price
Okay.
for it. So it's actually on one of my bookshelves in our bedroom right now. So very cool. I love that storyline, that 1602 alternate history where the Marvel heroes show up in Elizabethan England is a great story. I thought Grant Morrison, I believe, did that, if I'm not.
I have not read that. That's a run that I did not read, and it sounds
Yeah,
pretty
it was
cool.
a mini series, and they've done specials periodically still set in that universe, and, yeah, it's really good, and I highly recommend reading it. You definitely
Okay.
should.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Laura was interested in it years ago. We were at Acme Comics, and they put together complete sets, and they had a complete set of 1602 at the time, and she really was interested in that, so I bought it at the time, and,
That's
yeah,
awesome, yeah.
I love alternate history takes on things, and so that was right up my alley. I didn't realize they'd done any statues for that. I was really surprised when I saw that at McKay's, but so another good I've actually found 2 really nice statues at McKay's at this point. One was the Mark II Iron Man.
Yeah, that thing's awesome.
He does have the shoulder antenna is broken off, but, if you didn't know it was there, you really wouldn't even know it was missing anything, and at some point, I'm going to try to figure out how to fix that.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's something to be said about getting a really good deal on something and it
Mhm.
maybe not being perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't wanna
Yep.
jump too far ahead, but I did pick something up for you today. I sent you a picture of it, and it is definitely not in the most mint condition I've ever seen, but I've just never seen one that size, and it was just too cool to put back down.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's
but yeah,
awesome, I appreciate that, but yeah.
yeah, so sometimes gently used things are a good thing.
Yeah, we also saw I sent you the picture of all the real Ghostbusters figures.
Yep.
They had a I don't I guess somebody had brought those in recently because they had, what, at least 2 or 3 pegs full of those figures. The only When I even sent them, I was like, "Ugh, they're all kinda pricey."
They are
I
really
thought
pricey.
yeah, because every one of them, even the Ghostbusters themselves, were like $21. Then some of the oversized figures were, I think Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was $30. And I'm like, okay, they're nice, they're cool. I didn't know you already had some, and I knew you got the Firehouse. So I didn't know if you'd be on the lookout for any of the figures.
I'm looking
Were
out
oh,
for them.
I did want to ask you because you guys went there last night too. Were they originals or are these the reproductions from a few
Now,
years ago?
okay, if those were originals, they would all be in my house.
Okay,
'Cause
all right.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they
they're
were,
they're
yeah.
the reproductions, and so that's another reason why it's like, man, that is a lot of money for a reproduction,
Mhm,
especially
mhm.
when, like I said, Beardy has, sent me some things online, and he has very similar things, but they're original, and honestly, I think the price is either the same or maybe a few bucks more, and so it's like, I mean, if I have the option to get the originals, I'm gonna go with the originals.
Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
and plus, not a knock on McKay's, I spend more than my fair share of money there. I really have enjoyed supporting local people lately. Local comic book shops, local toy people and things. I know we've talked about the Collectors Confluence. I got to hang out with those guys for a little bit this morning. Those are the people that I'm like, I think I'm going to try to start, getting a little bit more from them if I can, because it's fun to make sure that they're still going to be around. Otherwise, I'm going to be really bored.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always wanna try to, go to a local comic shop, a local toy store. Um, I still like McKay's. I kinda I think McKay's is semi-local. I mean, they're only North Carolina. They recently closed their Tennessee store.
I've read something about that. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
that was a conflict with the landlord, it sounded like. It sounded like they had a change of ownership of
Ugh.
who owned the property, and they just couldn't come to an agreement, so they closed it down. So, I'm pretty sure after that, they're exclusively North Carolina again.
Oh, wow. I wonder if they'll reopen that or if that's just gonna be stuff that's, like, mass distributed between all the stores and around here.
Um, I originally saw the post on Facebook about it, and then Laura read another post from McKay's themselves, and it sounded like they are looking to try and find another location, maybe, in Tennessee, but I'll be honest, that rarely works out a lot of times, especially if you're not able to move immediately, because um that happened to another, not a bookstore, but a restaurant that I really like that I grew up with in Burlington. They had expanded and actually had a location on the other side of Burlington, which was more convenient when I'm driving into Burlington nowadays. But it was just shut down one day, and it was because they didn't own the building, they were renting it and apparently couldn't come the landlord was trying to raise the rent considerably, and they couldn't come to an agreement, and so they, at first said, "We're trying to find another location, we're gonna reopen in West Burlington." That's been, like, 2 years now, and they still
Okay.
haven't done it, so I feel like the similar thing with McKay's, the longer they don't have a present there, the more difficult it is just to do it, and to be honest, I would love for them to open another North Carolina location. King would be perfect.
That might be a little close, but yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of relocating and changing, Recollect is no longer on Robin Hood Road.
Laura told me that she saw the post that I forget where she said they
It's like
moved. They
the
did,
end of Hickory Tree Road, in a
yeah.
shopping center there,
Maybe you got
off of
tired of not having air conditioning. That was
I
that
don't
was
know, I'm not it
Laura's.
was very hot. I don't know what happened there. The last time that I stopped by there, I went in and there were boxes everywhere, and so I was like, "Did you just get a massive shipment in?" And I was like, "And are you putting those Joes out that I saw the last time I was in here when I got really lucky and got that Cobra Commander for Cassandra?" And they were like, "No, we're moving. I mean, we're in the middle of a move." And I was like, "Well, oh my gosh, where are you going?" Well, there's a shop right across the street from my school they were looking at. I'd have been really happy with that. But it's the end of Hickory Tree Road is not bad. That's not a I can swing by there on a Friday, then, take Peters Creek to the highway and then hit McKay's on the way
Yeah,
home like I
that's
do every
my
Friday.
aunt, one of my aunts used to live on Hickory Tree Road. back in the day. I used to spend summers there with her. Um, so yeah, I'm from that area has really built up. There used to be nothing out there, but is he going to be near the Lowe's shopping center out there? I know
Um,
there is a Lowe's shopping center. There's like a Mario's Pizza. All our
yeah, I don't know.
listeners, unless you live in Winston-Salem, you have no clue what we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah, they're
about,
like,
but
"Whatever, we don't care." Um, yeah, I think it's I know that it's near, there's like a dog groomer because one of my students was like, "Oh my goodness, Mr. B, there's this really cool toy shop you've gotta come into. They're moving in this weekend." And then I was like, "Oh, well, I know actually know who that is because I was just talking to the owner the other day." So,
I gotta say, I really like to recollect. I've only been there a couple of times. I'm gonna just say 2 things, and I mean these in the best possible way as constructive criticism. Please have air conditioning in July,
yes.
and if you say you're gonna be open at a certain time, be open at that time.
Yeah, that I'm not too sure if that's something that will, be fixed or
Or
not.
don't post your hours. Just don't post
Yeah.
your hours and just we'll be there when we be there um, because the last time I went there, his hours posted on the center was he opened at noon. I think it was finally about quarter after 1 before he showed up.
Wow.
And I get it. I know that if you're running a small business by yourself, I have been there. You know, it can be tough. Things happen. But you got to be there. You have to open the door when it says
Yeah.
you're open, or don't post your hours.
I
Just
know the last probably other than the very last time that I went there where they were actually working, probably the last 10 or 15 times before that, it was always his mom
yeah,
was
yeah.
working. Yeah, it was always his mom that was working, and she's a sweet lady, man. She's really cool, super helpful. But I
Well,
mean, again, with
he was super nice when I met
yeah,
the owner. Yeah, he was really nice. I just it's frustrating as a customer. Luckily, I'm motivated. I was determined to hang around, and we
yeah,
ended up driving to other places and looking around and kind of just kept checking back. But a lot of people, if I had driven a long distance
that'd have
to
been
be there to
frustrating.
start, I'd be frustrated. I'd be upset.
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand that. So, did you pick up anything else? I know you had sent me a couple pictures of some books and things.
I
Did you pick
did.
any of those up?
I picked up a few. We were planning before. Before the disruption last week, we had been planning on last week's episode to be a. We were going to talk about choose your own adventure books because we both really like those, and I know you have a really nice collection of them. I've always enjoyed them. Um, I've really gotten more into them over the last couple of years. Particularly because of my interest in Dungeons and Dragons. And I remembered that Dungeons and Dragons did some choose your own adventure. Although I think they called theirs game books. And um, I remember those from back in the day. During when I was traveling to Wisconsin, I ended up finding a few at a half price books up there. So I was really happy to find those. And that's kinda gotten me out into the other choose your own adventure books, and so I'm interested in that, and so as part of the research for that episode, which I think we're now planning on doing that next week, so
Yeah.
'cause, I started doing kind of a deep dive into the history of those. There are some great YouTube videos about it. I was able to find quite a few resources online about it, but, I had started doing the research and I just need to pull things together and I didn't get a chance to do that, with everything that happened. So while we were at McKay's, I thought, well, let me take a look and see what they might have. I know you found some good ones there before. They actually had quite a few of the original choose your own adventure. I didn't end up buying any of those. I did end up finding some I was interested in. I had forgotten all about the Goosebumps.
Yep.
I think those are called Choose Your Fright or Pick Your Fright.
Yeah, that's something like that.
They actually had the first one of those, and so I did pick that up for fairly probably more than I should have paid, but I thought it was reasonable. And then it's funny, I picked up that Oregon Trail Choose Your Own Adventure book. That one looks like it probably came out in like 2017, 2018, something like that. It had an Ollie's price sticker on it.
What's
And then
funny
when
you
I
say that.
sent you the picture, you were
Yeah,
like, "I think you got me those
the whole set
years ago, the whole set, because they're
for
only
my
3."
classroom.
Yeah, well, here's the funny part of that story. So I'm like, I bought that. I was like, "Oh, this is cool." This is why you should inventory your collection.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. So I'm like, I was talking to Lauren. I said, Chuck says he thinks that I have already bought these for him. And if I bought a set for him, I probably bought a set for me too. Uh, since they were $1.99 at Ollie's for 3 books.
Yeah.
So I went upstairs. She's like, they might be in your mom's room because there are built in bookshelves in there. And then we have a lot of books on there. So I went up there and looked, and sure enough, yeah, I have all 3 of them, and now I have 2 of the first one, which
Well, I
is
mean,
fine,
eh,
which is fine.
yeah.
I'll find somebody to give that to.
Well, it's either that or that's if you really wanna sit down and just, like, dig through one and read it. I mean,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
paperbacks don't hold up super well.
that's
So, I
true.
mean,
And they
you could
were
always
there, and the interesting thing is those are Scholastic. We were talking a while back about the Scholastic book fairs, and so with those being published by Scholastic, I would imagine those were part of a book fair at some point.
I have no doubt they were. Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. It's cool because, I mean, I'm a huge fan, so I do a lot of the choose your own adventure in class
Mhm.
with the students, and we were studying Lewis and Clark, and that was one of the assignments was kids were supposed to work on their own choose your own adventure, and I don't know what happened with that lesson. I don't know if we got interrupted or what happened, but no one did it except for one kid is the only one. So I took her words and uploaded that into Claude, and it actually made a choose your own adventure game with like dice rolling components to it.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. That
yeah, it
is
was really
great.
neat. So it has all of her different paths that she chose. It has all of her choices. And then it chose to put a little bit of randomness in there with the dice rolling. But I mean, and when you die, it takes you right back to the beginning, just like a book, and you have to read it all again and get back to that spot that you just made it to. So I was like, man, if we could have all gotten this done, that would have been really awesome. But that would have been a lot
Mhm.
of work on my end, plugging all that stuff in and uploading it. So kinda glad they didn't do it because that would have been a lot of work, but and I'm also kinda disappointed that we didn't get to do that because you never know when that might turn a kid on to a certain book series or something like that.
Yeah, as I said, my introduction to choose your own adventure, even back as a kid, was more tangentially from Dungeons and Dragons because I was always interested in Dungeons and Dragons, but my friends, none of them ever got into it. Like, I was kind of the only one. It wasn't until I was actually in college where I found people who were already into it, and I kind of found a gaming group then. So I didn't like my friends from like middle school and high school. They liked a lot of the same things I did. We were all kind of into sci-fi and sci-fi comic books. I was probably more into comics than a lot of my buddies. Um, so we did have like a core thing we were interested in, but I could never get any of them interested in Dungeons and Dragons at all. Um, it wasn't the babe magnet then, I guess it is now, but so,
Yeah, definitely back then
yeah,
was not.
yeah. And so, but so I didn't really have any friends who wanted to get into it. But I do remember those game books because, we had a little bookstore in Burlington at the time. This was before we ever got anything like a Barnes& and Noble or anything like that. Like, if you wanted to go to what I considered a big bookstore, you had to go to one of the malls in Greensboro or Winston. They had, Walden Books or D. Dalton. But, the only bookstore we had in Burlington at that time was a little it was half bookstore, half stationery shop called Will's Books, and but they actually had a Dungeons& and Dragons section, which was unusual for such a small bookstore, and they actually had some of those little game books, and I remember reading those as a kid because they weren't role playing and like I don't even think they had the dice mechanics, which some of the later ones did, but it still it kind of was that introduction to role playing where I could do it myself. I could do it alone rather than having, because that's always the drawback to most tabletop RPGs is you got to have at least a few people that are into it.
Yeah.
So, so that was kind of my introduction, and I knew about the other choose your own adventures, but I was kind of fixated on the Dungeons and Dragons ones that TSR was doing. I wish now I had dug deeper because just in the research I've done, some of the ones you've shown me, I mean, there are other fantasy ones like and the one I was looking for at McKay's, but they didn't have any. Were the Lone Wolf series? I think you have some of those. The Lone
I
Wolf because
may.
that's a fantasy setting.
Yeah.
Um, then um, there are some other and TSR even back in the day, I didn't realize this, they actually have some choose your own adventure books that are not Dungeons and Dragons. They're tied to their other role-playing game systems that don't exist anymore, like Gamma World, the 25th Century, which was a Buck Rogers style setting. And so I'm like, those are actually now going on my watch list that I'm gonna
Yeah.
be looking for.
It's funny that you say that, like, right beside my
There
desk.
you go. There you go. The
It's like,
World of Lone Wolf.
yeah, ready to roll. That is book number 1. That was one of the ones that
Yeah,
I was gonna
see,
talk about.
I was looking at McKay to see if they had any. They didn't have any of
That's
those,
probably because
so
I bought them.
probably, probably.
That is a
Um,
I have a I mean, if I had one of those, I forget what they call those watches, the Strasa or whatever it is, where they map where you run. Strava. I think it's called Strava, where they map where you run. Like, I have an exact path that I walk when I go into McKay's. I go
mhm.
to this place first, I go to this place, I check this thing, I check this area, I go over to here, and it's like I hit all these different spots, and then I end up at the games, and then by then, like, they're already following me because 'cause they're bored and done looking at stuff because they only have, like, 2 sections they look at where I look at
Y
a bunch.
Yeah, that's kinda I mean, m mine is right there as you enter the door, there's the big toy section. I always hit the action figures. I hit the Star Trek action figures. This is the first time I've gone there and they didn't have any Galoob Star Trek The Next Generation figures at all. I usually find one or two. Now, whether they're in good enough condition for me to buy is another thing, but this time nothing. Uh, but then like you, I kind of hit I used to hit the sci-fi section first. Now I do hit the like young adult where because that's where the choose your own adventure books are.
Yep.
I do choose that. Then I hit the sci-fi section. Um, and then I will check graphic novels and trade paperbacks. But I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I found a what I would consider a bargain. Like a lot of those I find trade paperbacks there unless it's something that's been out of print for a long time and it's just difficult to find. Most of the time I pass on the trades and graphic novels just because I'm like, yeah, this is kind of retail price or better or
Yeah, I
more.
mean, I do like I mean, that's I'm always in there looking for a good deal. I try to find, books that aren't super expensive.
Mhm.
If I find, I know, I mean, I picked up Spaceballs for you. If I find a
Yes.
random old
Yep.
school 80s movie adaptation, a novelization, I love to pick those up. But yeah, I mean, sometimes those books can be a little expensive.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the I did also I'm always on the lookout for I'm missing 2 of the V novelizations.
I always look for those. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm missing the first one, V, and then there was a V East Coast Crisis. Those are the only 2 I'm missing out of the whole run. Because when we went to Hillsville last spring,
Yeah.
I did find that run of the V novels, and then
There's a
when I
bunch.
looked up the publication list, I basically have them all except for the adaptation of the TV show, and then East Coast Crisis, which isn't part of the normal book series. but what it because it takes place at the same time as the V miniseries, except it is covering the events happening on the East Coast, whereas the TV
Yeah.
show only covered the West Coast.
Yeah. I'm trying to look here, I swear, and I thought I had it sitting on this desk, but I don't wanna sit here and dig the whole time. I have one of the Vs. It'd be pretty awesome if it was the first one that you don't have.
Oh,
I'll
yeah, well,
have to look
yeah.
around for that.
Well, I did check McKay's, and anytime I go to a used bookstore, I do take a look for those. Those have been it has surprised me how difficult those have been to find. I realize V was kind of an '80s thing. They did try to bring it back in, like, the 20 early 2010s, late 2000s, um, but, I mean, I do know there's a lot of love for V out there. That's one thing I would love for us to talk about on an episode is, have you yeah, I'm sure you saw it, when you were a kid.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, I have the action figure.
yeah, yeah, we should definitely rewatch the original V, um, both miniseries from TV. I'd love to even watch the weekly TV show. I even as a kid, it was like, oh, the production value really went down between the TV
Yeah.
miniseries and the weekly show, but
Well, that
I'd
was so
still love to
forced, though.
watch it again.
Yeah, it was so successful and so fast that they forced the TV stuff
Yes.
into production
Yeah.
so quickly that I don't think that anybody had time to really put any, like, deep thought into what the show was gonna be about. It was like, "Holy cow, I've gotta get something on the air every single week," and they were just throwing things and praying they stuck to the wall.
You know what? And that's why, looking back at it now, I would argue that there is a good argument, and I think that's really the thing that streaming services are really good at is not everything has to be a 24 episode a season TV show. Not everything can hold up to that. And I
Yeah.
would say V is probably one of those. They did try to bring it back as a weekly TV show in like I said, I think it was around 2009. It was between 2009 and 2012. I can't remember exactly. I do remember watching it on ABC. Um, I thought it was an interesting show. Like the special effects, of course, were way better by then. The only thing I would say I remember even thinking at the time is, "Oh, man, this show is dragging." Like, it is because they're doing this weekly thing, and that was when Lost was really popular and popularized the idea of, what they call decompressed storytelling. Comic books falls into that a lot of times now too. I call it boring is what because so much time is spent just building the mystery, and then you either never get a payoff or the payoff's disappointing. Whereas that was the great thing about the V miniseries when it came out. It was what, like, I think it was like 3 nights at most. Like, so you had 3 two-hour episodes. So it's like a really long movie or 2 movies, and they had to move. Like, you didn't have time to
Uh,
to just dawdle, and that's why I think I would love to see them try to bring V back again, but do it as like, just a limited series. Do 6 episodes, do this, and then do another limited series later. Um, I could see like, I think that's a show that would really work well that way. Kinda what they're doing I would say what they're doing with some of the Game of Thrones shows now, like, now that they're doing this, the Hedge Knight series they're turning into a show now, in that those were just a series of, like, short stories anyway that George R. R. Martin did, and so I think they're doing this as, like, a limited series. It's only so many episodes, the story's told, we're done. I like that. I think a lot of not everything needs to be a full not everything needs to be a full TV show. I think that's what a lot of Hollywood productions get wrong is there are some things that need to be a TV show or a miniseries to have more room to tell the story, but then they'll try to cram it into a 2-hour movie
yeah.
instead. And so, but then there are just as many other things that would be a fine 2-hour movie, and they try to turn it into a 10 episode TV show. So,
Yeah, I
anyway,
can see that.
that's me on my soapbox.
I kind of want to go back to something you said. It's been a while now, but it just keeps circulating back. B. Dalton and Walden Books at the
Yeah,
mall.
yeah.
I mean, to just and it's not that I preferred one or the other. I just felt like I went into Walden Books more, probably because it was not too far from where I work at the mall. But that was a lot of fun. I mean, that was a great bookstore. It wasn't a used bookstore, but because those are my favorite, but it was really neat to go in and see the new books that were coming out to, especially back then in the 90s, like if a band got very popular, you could always pretty much guarantee a magazine or a book was coming out, either
Oh, yeah,
authorized or
yeah.
unauthorized, and I've loved picking those up and reading them.
I mean, I miss the old bookstore experience. Now, I will, Barnes& and Noble, I still love going to Barnes& and Noble, but I will say there's something about that time frame from, I would say, certainly the 70s, 80s, 90s, and I'd say the early 2000s. There was just something about going to the mall. I always hit both of them. There was always Walden Books, and then there was B. Dalton, and I liked them both. But I actually worked at B. Dalton for a while, B. Dalton Booksellers for a while too. So, um, I I I enjoyed both of them. Uh, I will say the my fondest memory of either one of them is the Walden Books at Four Seasons Mall in Greensboro. I That's the first place I ever found the Target Doctor Who books.
Ah, okay.
I'd gotten really into Doctor Who in, like, the mid-80s, watching it on, national the public broadcast
Yep.
channel showed it on Saturday afternoons. Um, well, I think what they did was they would show it at like 11 o'clock at night for some reason. They would show the individual episodes during the week. And then on Saturday, you would get like a bunch of episodes together. So it'd be like an hour and a half. It'd be like watching a movie or something. So it was really cool. But I really, um, love Doctor Who, and when I found out that they did Doctor Who books, oh man, it was over then. Every time we went to a mall, I'd hit the bookstore and just I had quite a collection of those Target books. I wish I still had them.
I mean, we still find them. You can get
Oh
back
no,
there.
I'm slowly rebuilding it. I'm
Oh yeah.
slowly rebuilding it. Yeah, I've got quite a few of those. That's one I'm Yeah, that's one of those just over time, I'm gonna slowly collect all of those again.
That's neat. Have you ever been anywhere and, like, found a book that you had when you were younger? Like, at a used bookstore or anything? It's like you pick up a book and, like, you open it up and there's, like, the "This book belongs to" sticker on the inside with your name in it.
No, no, I've never done that, never done
That'd be
that.
kinda I think that would be kinda cool.
That would be great. Now I will say I didn't do that a lot, like, I don't I it would be hard to tell 'cause, um, I was kinda finicky, like, I didn't write in my books or
Okay.
anything like that, so, I'm not saying there are none out there, uh that I wouldn't have written my name in or that my parents might have written my name in, um, especially if it was a book that I was gonna take to school or something, but
Yeah.
I was I'll just say it, I was an uber nerd weirdo because I would take my, talking to the Target Doctor Who books, this was back in the day before really, like, now they actually make bags and boards for your little mass market paperbacks. I actually do that a lot with a lot of mine, is I at least bag them, just like my comics, I bag and board. But back in the day, I would wanna take it, a copy to school so that at lunch or during free reading time or something like that, that's what I'd read, but I didn't want it to get messed up in my book backpack. So my mom gave me a Ziploc bag, and I would put my book in the Ziploc bag just so it wouldn't get something else on it or bent to or
Yeah.
damaged or anything because I liked keeping them kind of pristine and nice. Um, so here's this kid, at lunchtime, I'm pulling out a Ziploc bag out of my backpack and there's not a sandwich in there. There's a
A
Doctor Who
book.
book.
Yeah.
Doctor Who book.
Yeah. Now, I just remember a lot of those, like, McDonald's and Burger King stickers that would have like, maybe it's Grimace
Yeah, yeah,
or
like the line like,
it's
"This book
just
belongs to."
yeah, and I had oh my gosh, I mean, I had so many of those.
Well, I
Um,
remember talking about the Scholastic book fairs. I remember they used to give us those. Like,
yeah,
when you would buy the books at the book fair, most of the time, you would get a sticker that you could put in it that had the "This book belongs to," but I'll be honest, I don't know that I ever used one.
yeah, I just remember those, and I don't know if that was a thing that, my mom made me do or because I was so, disorganized as a young kid if I had to put my name in books because I knew that I was gonna leave them in the wrong classroom or something. I don't know. I just remember doing that a lot, though. I think it'd be wild to find a book that
Yeah,
belonged to you,
I
though.
would definitely be on the now, would you have been going by Chuck then, or would
Oh,
it have
yeah,
been
it's
Charles Bullet or
now, I guess if a teacher wrote in it, they probably would have put Charles, but, I
yeah,
mean, it's always been Chuck, so
okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying that there aren't any out there without my name that don't ha th that I'm not saying there are none out there with my name in it,
yeah.
because I do know, like, especially when I was a smaller child, my parents might have done it, especially
Oh,
if it
yeah.
was something I was gonna take to, to day school or something like that, where, like you said, where, you may leave it laying around or it ends up in a different kid's backpack or something like that. And then, so there might be some things out there. I would say the closest, certainly not in a used bookstore. I have been going through stuff that we have and found things of mine that I didn't think I had anymore. A really good example of that is this has probably been 5 or 6 years ago, when Laura and I were it's been longer than that, because we've been married for almost 10 years, in a couple of years. Um, I guess when we were first moving in together, I was going through some boxes of books and things, and I ran across an old, Spider-Man crossword book that I had no clue that I still had. I would have sworn this thing got thrown out years ago. Um, and that was neat to see that, and I now have it. It's on my bookshelf with
Yeah.
other things, yeah. But, I still remember getting that out of book fair.
Yeah, it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that it is fun looking through it where I had started doing some of the crosswords.
Yeah.
You see in your little kid handwriting.
Oh, yeah, yeah, because 'cause I've got some books that had where you had to fill in, like, sentences about things or write about things, and it's just
Mhm,
funny to look back and see what my thoughts were then.
mhm.
It's apparently I thought my mom was a monster for making me clean my room. I really I just wanted to play, so I
I
don't know.
get it, I get
But, I
it.
mean, it's just something about finding those things that you had, when you were little, that's a lot of fun, and I think that was some part of the fun that I had today at the toy show was, finding some things. I know I sent you a picture of that old school, Batman board puzzle,
Oh,
a
that
and I
was so
love those
cool.
things, man. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that guy had stuff I got that in the same, like, I guess, tent that I got that Corgi Superman for you,
Yeah,
and
that was really interesting. So that is a corgi. That
yeah,
is
it's
a
huge,
corgi?
though.
I know. I didn't know they made them that big. The only ones
I
I've ever seen are the
they're tiny.
little ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't leaving without that, and also got the little professor, calculator from him today too,
Oh,
if you remember that.
that is okay. Yes, that is
Yeah.
awesome. That
Yeah,
is awesome.
so, I mean, like, we got there and we were, like, unpacking, like, the car, and, like, people just, like, attacked us. I mean, they were, like, digging through our boxes and making piles, like, "Oh my gosh," like, "We're not even set up yet," and people are digging through.
I have got to get it. You and I were talking before we started recording. Thi I've planned to go to the last 3 of these things, and every time something happened. I remember one of the first ones I was gonna go to, well, I ended up changing jobs, and I ended up having to go to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I was gone. And then I got sick before the last one. And then this time with my mom and stuff, I just didn't have time to prepare for it. I would have loved to have gone. Our plans for last weekend were to go because, I've been organizing my collection. We were going to pull stuff out and pack it in, get it ready. And we were going to have stuff prepped to go. And then the wheels came off the bus and
Yeah.
it just didn't happen. So I'm like, all right, now I've got to look and plan for when the next one is because that's exciting to hear that people are so eager. Because I'm like, I think I have some stuff that where like 'cause I know there's stuff in my collection. I see it all the time that I'm like, yeah, I liked this at some point. It's not really something I care about hanging on to. I'd much rather get rid of this to free up space and money for something else that I would
That's
really
the
love.
thing that I've
Yeah.
really been trying to do lately is really taking a hard look at something and saying, "This is a really cool piece, but do I really need to keep this?
Yeah.
Is it worth just having to say, 'Oh, I have that,' or
Yeah.
is it better to get rid of it and get some money and free up some space for some things that I would probably rather have. So
Right.
it's really hard to do because I love it all. I mean, I can find even this like something that's not even really in my wheelhouse of collecting. I can find that it's cool and want to hold on to it, but I've got to get a little better about getting rid of some of the things in hopes of getting other stuff. Because I did a lot of trading today too, which was really nice. There was a board game that I had, and the guy really wanted it, and he traded it for, oddly, one of those packaged Ghostbusters.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Yeah.
so in the long run, I bought the game for $5. So it cost me $5 to get, one of the Fright Ghostbusters. It was Winston, so I gave that to Grant. So yeah, it was neat to do that. But yeah, as soon as we got out of the car, guys started digging through my stuff, making a pile, and then the collectors confluence guys, they came over and they started picking up. They bought a ton. And the thing is like, well, I think you've made your money back on the firehouse now. We got to leave because I think they did spend awfully close to what I spent on the firehouse
Oh,
and buying
that's
stuff from
great.
me.
So they
So
just bought it. I'm surprised they didn't offer trade.
well, I mean, it was kinda nice. I thought it was a very genuine thing to say. Now, I mean, I think they got a fair enough deal from me that they can turn around and then sell it at a profit from their
You're right.
store.
Yeah.
But even they said, "Hey, man, we're not at the store. This isn't trade. Like, we have to pay a little bit different prices out here than we would in the store." So they were paying, you know, very close. Now, I gave them a good deal on one thing, but I had $20 in it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I got a great deal out of that because the rest I mean, it was all the other stuff to me was stuff that I had no cost in. So it was worth the deal for me. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I've got like I said, I've got in mind I know some of the bigger items that I would love to take and see if I could sell or get or trade even, but, like I said, I really need to go through because 'cause I've got a lot of figures, like, boxed and carded figures that I love like, I'm going through the same thing where I'm like, Yeah, this is great.' I mean, but is this really the thing I really wanna collect?" Or I've kinda tried to focus my collecting more over the past year or so, and so I'm like, because 'cause I'd let it get out of control, and so I would like to, get rid of some of that stuff that's just taking up shelf space right now
yeah.
and get focused back in on the stuff that I really love, and um so I'm gonna be keeping an eye on the calendar, see when the next one is that's,
We gotta be
within
careful though, man,
range.
because it got stinking hot out there today, man. Like we ended up leaving early because it just was I mean, I guess we should have set the tent up. That might have helped some,
Yeah,
but it was just pretty warm.
before we go, I'm definitely going to go to, Dick's Sporting Goods and buy one of those tents that we can
Yeah.
we'll take Laura's Subaru and we'll just open the back and set the tent up at the end. So, yeah, because that's the other thing. I know summer's coming up, and we've already had a very warm spring.
Yeah.
I think it was in the mid 80s today. Um, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm with you. I mean, when we went to that Raleigh flea market last summer, whew, I nearly melted. Like,
It was hot.
because, well, and it is at the fairgrounds, and it's on asphalt. So that's
That's where we were
terrible.
today, is in a parking
Yeah.
lot,
And
so
you're in a
that didn't
parking lot
help.
on asphalt. So,
But I did notice, like, I mean, and this happened to everybody, anything that you had bagged and boarded was starting to sweat, and get hot, and you don't want, I mean, you can't, if you have a
yeah,
book
no,
out
no,
there,
no. Yeah.
moisture, so, I mean, I started moving stuff to the car rather quickly to get it out of the heat, 'cause in the shade and in the car, it wasn't terrible. Um, but I think that, I think that might have kept a lot of people away today, and I saw a lot of vendors packing up about the same time that we did and heading out because it was just a little too warm. And there wasn't enough and if the foot traffic had been more, I probably would have stayed.
It would be great. I don't know. I know the whole thing behind this is kind of like a a community event and everything, but it would be nice, especially with summer in North Carolina, as humid and hot as it gets. It'd be nice if there could be an indoor venue for one of these
So
things.
I'm gonna ask at school, what would it cost? It could, number one, could we
Yes.
rent the gym
Yep.
out? And number two, if we rented the gym out, how much would that cost? And I don't think that that's gonna be an extremely expensive thing. And then I think to let people know, "Hey, we're gonna be in a gym, it's gonna be air conditioned," and then,
I
like,
think you'd
obviously.
get a great turn, even if, because like me, I've even been, you and I have talked about it. I've wanted to buy tables at, like, the toy show that the sports card people put on here in
Yeah,
Winston and everything, and, those aren't unreasonable. I mean, those are like $50 a table, I think, so that's not crazy expensive for to be in the venue that it's in over off at the fairgrounds. So, certainly, for even one of these things, if everybody, I mean, you would have to kinda, like, okay, if people wanna come set up here, you might have to chip in a little bit, I don't know. Um, but I'd be willing to pay, a few bucks, throw a few bucks
of
just to
course.
be in an
Just to
air-conditioned
be in an air
venue.
condition, so
Yeah.
it's worth checking out, so I'm gonna inquire at school. Number 1, is that even something that we could do? And
Mhm.
then number 2, if we did, what would it cost? And then if it turns out to be reasonable, reach out to the Toy Underground folks and say, "Hey, like, I have this opportunity. I know that, I see people packing up all the time, and we're getting ready to get into the pretty toasty
Oh,
months."
yeah, yeah. Once we
So,
hit late I would say once you hit mid-June for sure, you're definitely melting. Now, this year might be different because it has been warmer this spring than it typically is.
yeah.
Um, it is highly unusual for even for us to be in the 80s in March. So,
Yeah, it's too hot, man.
yeah, so we've had the extremes this year. We had one of the coldest winters we've had in a long time, and now we're having a really warm spring that I'm hoping is not a sign of one of the hottest summers to
I
come,
hope
but
not,
we
man,
will
because
see.
that makes it, I mean, especially for what I do, like, that's when I'm, quote, unquote, "off of work," and
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man, like, if it's just gonna be 98 and humid all summer, I'm gonna get another job and then make sure that I'm going off every weekend in the fall when it's nice and cool outside,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just not fun outside, and it's hard to do anything.
No, yeah, because we went, yeah, last year. What time? I want to say it was like early June when we went to the
It might have
Raleigh
been,
flea
yeah.
market. And I had thought it wouldn't be too bad, but man, it got so hot so fast,
Yeah.
out on that asphalt. Um, so you're right. I mean, that's something to consider. Yeah, let me know what shapes out with your school gym or whatever. That'd be awesome. Um, yeah, like I said, I'd be willing to chip in a few bucks. to set up
Yeah, I
something
mean,
like that.
it's
Like I said, I think, um, the $50 a table that they ask for the toy show here in Winston, I think that's reasonable. You and I had talked about it. Um,
I
I
don't
would just
understand how they don't have more space because when we went to the last toy show, the back, I don't know, maybe eighth of the building was empty.
right, yeah. Yeah,
Just
definitely wasn't as full as it has
go
been in
just
the
open it up
past.
and go further down, like, you should not turn away a table until you look at the numbers and go, "Alright, we have no more spot. If one more person shows up, we would be
Yeah, yeah.
to capacity." Just move stuff around and open up a table, it's not hurting, you're making money.
Well, like I said, I know that and I need to look at the calendar because that should be coming up, I would say, within the next month or so. I think, the one we went to last spring was in May, early May.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna have to check the calendar 'cause like I said, if I can get things pulled together, I might rent at least 1 table. If you wanted to set up there too and get rid of some stuff, I mean, I think the 2 of us could probably do 2 tables. I
Yeah.
don't know. I we just have to see, um, but that's actually a very reasonable amount of money for a table. Because 'cause I've seen, then you go to somewhere like Heroes Con. Now, that's a big show. That's like one of the biggest conventions in the Southeast, and it's just much more expensive to set up as a dealer there.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have that kind of inventory
Me
to
either. Like I
spend a
said,
ton of
I
money.
just have stuff I wanna get rid of.
Yeah.
Uh, like, I think I could do pretty well at the toy show. I have enough that I wanna get rid of. The thing is, I'm not really looking to be a dealer in that I'm gonna eventually gonna run out of the stuff I wanna get rid of.
Yeah. I mean, I there's a lot of things that I sold and got rid of today that I picked up. When I saw it, I was like, "That's such a good deal." I know that I could make money on that.
Yep.
And, after that first toy show that we went to, I mean, for me, the first one I went to, which was at the same place I went to today, I had a great time and the community was great and everything about it was awesome. Just the camaraderie and the conversations and those types of things were really awesome. And so I was like, I'm going to do that again. And then Cassandra started going, she's like, this is a lot of fun. And so we did it again today. And I mean, other than maybe just getting a little hot this afternoon, it was a lot of fun, and to, talk to a lot of the folks and see where they were from and do a lot of the trading, it was a great day.
I know it was in Mooresville. Did you get to look around, after the show and find any
Th
other places to go
this was in
to?
Thomasville.
Oh, Thomasville. I thought it was in
Yeah.
Mooresville for
No,
some
this one
reason.
was in Thomasville at,
Okay.
uh, I wanna say Nerd Fest, but that's the thing that went on. I forget the name of it. Nerd Merchant. At
Oh,
Nerd
okay,
Merchant in
okay.
Thomasville. And so, yeah, not a long drive, just a little bit further than going to school each day, not too
Mhm.
bad of a drive, and just got there and set up in the parking lot and had a great day overall, man, and met some really cool people and had some people pick up some things that they were very excited about, and that's awesome. And honestly, I got rid of some really huge pieces today that have taken up a lot of room in my house.
Good, good.
So, it was awesome. Yeah. Now I can spend more money on Ghostbusters, I guess, and fill out that case.
There you go. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. I know that it's not quite our time, but we're awfully close, man. Is there
Yeah,
anything else you wanna chat
we're
about?
awfully close, and I'm still kinda getting things prepped to head back to work
Yeah,
tomorrow and hopefully get back on a regular schedule again. So,
that's
I
yeah,
would say, yeah, I'm gonna spend the rest of the time of the week finishing up what I was wanting to talk about with our Choose Your Own
mm,
Adventure episode. Another episode that I know you'll be up for this one for us to talk about is I saw a YouTube video today. I think I forwarded it to you, where I think it was from Retro Days, talking about forgotten serials
oh,
of
yeah,
the 70s and 80s. Um, that's one. As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, we need to talk about that on a podcast because I know
yeah,
you love cereal, you love the monster cereals. You're a big collector of that stuff. I'm just fascinated by the old kids cereals and the stuff that came in them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's
I
definitely gonna be a
love
good podcast.
old cereal toys. So I'd kind of love to talk about that because even in that video, he only covered, I think, three cereals, and
There's
I
so many.
didn't, three or four. Um, and I gotta say, there was only one out of the four that I actually remembered, even though they were out when I was a kid. Um, and I was like, wow, I do not remember those cereals at all. So I would love to talk about that. And then, I'm sure there are some cereals I remember that our viewers, our listeners might not remember. You might not even remember. So yeah, I would love to take a deep dive into, our favorite cereals, uh, from when we were a kid, whether they exist today or not.
No, yeah. No, I think that would be a great one. So that's just some more stuff to go ahead and plan. And I know that you've been writing things down and kind of making sure that we don't forget because I'm like you. I get these cool ideas and then I forget about it. If I don't write something down or text you immediately about it,
Yeah,
I just forget.
I started trying just keeping in my notes app, just a list of ideas for episodes. I actually want to expand that out into an app. Um, I've been I had this idea probably when we first started talking about doing the podcast. I was like, I should build an app for just kind of where we can not just keep track of ideas, but then as I've like this, or I say this week, I guess it was week before last when I was really researching choose your own adventure. I found so many like interesting websites and things like that. And so I was like, I need a place where I can just kind of keep that stuff, pull it all together.
Yeah.
I need a like where I can start an idea and then pull in links to websites, or copy text from stuff that I have found, and just keep it in one place so that I can organize a little better. So I was like, yeah, I need to do that. Right now, I'm just doing it with the Apple Notes app, which is actually working for me. But but yeah, I think I can do something a little more organized.
Yeah. That would be cool. All right, man. Well, I guess we will wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to catching you next week when we start talking about choose your own adventures. And I hope everybody has a great week.
Talk to everybody later. Bye.